Well, the law of averages will tell you that they've been involved in a lot more crime because we didn't just happen to catch them for the two aggravated robberies they committed and the murder they committed. We know that. For every crime that we catch somebody committing, I can almost assure you the vast majority of those people have been involved in many other crimes that they haven't been caught on. I just read you what we have on them of the stuff that we know about.
But there doesn't appear to be currently, until these charges, any active charges on either one of them where they were out on bond, or was there?
I'm not sure. I don't think in this case none were out on bond, but I don't know if you saw our ATM robbers that was in the media yesterday that we arrested. Okay? They're stealing $800,000, and they've probably gotten away with other crimes that they probably have stash of money somewhere. And guess where they just got caught? The guys that we arrested here, where did they get caught?
State line.
Where? Laredo. On bond. And there's law enforcement dealing with the same people. Why? Because somebody's making money on bond, and if you think that people are going around engaging in criminal enterprises can't post these bonds where you only have to come up with $6,000 or $10,000, it's chump change for them. But why do we have those bonds? Because people are making money, and ultimately they're making money out of the victimization of Texans. So next session, let's see where the law and order legislature is going to, whose side they're going to be on. The bond industry or the victims of these violent criminals. What else?
Can you talk to us, just sort of talk us through what happened that night? As far as how they were actually captured, because there was that chase, and then they left, and then you guys, I think we'd like a little more detail.
Who wants to talk about some details? Anybody? Anybody want to volunteer?
Well, the night that
Come on up, Cap. Come on.
If you can talk us through everything, that'd be great.
Come on. Say who you are, though. Come on up. I'm moving out of your way. Say who you are.
I'm Captain Mike Fallhaber. I'm of the West Side Patrol Division. The bottom line is Tuesday night when they came back into the area in the RAV4, they went to a pawn shop. We were notified by homicide that they had gone to a pawn shop because you received a lead. We had an off-duty officer out there working an extra job, happened to go to the parking lot of the HEB or the HEB to do some shopping real quick, spotted the vehicle, got on the air, notified units that they had the vehicle in the parking lot. One marked unit was close by, blocked the exit that they were trying to leave the parking lot in. Unfortunately, that was only one marked unit, and then you had the extra job officers behind.
So this is just apologies for not quite, just want to be clear. So they had committed the carjacking of the RAV4.
Yes.
And then you guys got a tip that he was at a pawn, they were at a pawn shop?
That they were at a pawn shop. And so that told us that they were back in the area, the general area of where they had committed the crime earlier. Does that make sense?
Of which crime? The RAV4 crime or the?
Both. Both. It's all in the general area.
Okay.
So since they were in the general area, we were on the lookout for them, happened to spot them. Unfortunately, there were only 3 officers that tried to take them down. There were 3 males in the car. They were able to get outside the perimeter that we tried to set up in order to capture them. After a long search, we had to call it off. Got back into it the next morning, setting up surveillance in the area. Happened to see them. I think Officer Chafin was the one who saw them.
Which HEB was it? The HEB parking lot, you were saying they were initially?
Beach Nut in the Beltway, basically.
And then could you talk to us a little bit about finding them the next day and what happened there?
Pat?
Yes, we were out there, TAC unit and the gang officers were out there. We worked together quite a bit. Through the research that everybody's done and what we compiled, we decided that these guys are from this area. They're probably staying right in this area, so we're going to go saturate it with unmarked cars and conduct surveillance. So we're out in this area, and I just happened to be I was going to leave the area and go check down near Leawood where the capital murder happened. And when I got to Willcrest, that's when I saw 2 guys walking up a strip center, pulled in the parking lot, and I recognized immediately that one of them still had the same clothes on from the capital murder. So they went into a store, set up surveillance, notified everybody when they came out. They crossed over the street, went into an apartment complex, We moved all of our uniforms and unmarks in to try to capture them. One was captured almost immediately after he took off running. The other had a pretty lengthy foot chase, and these young, fast guys right here, they ran him down and captured him.
And this is Wednesday or Thursday? Was it yesterday?
That was Wednesday morning.
So, this guy is on every TV station, he's all over the internet wearing this distinctive clothing after killing a woman,
Yes,
and he's wearing the same clothing.
yes.
Like 3 days later?
Yes.
Is this the pink shirt guy or the other guy?
This is the one with the gray hoodie that had Hollister on it.
And the bright pants?
Same pants.
And the shoes, too. He's wearing the same clothing.
I don't recall the shoes.
No, I think the person you're talking about, the bright pants, they had like all,
The pattern.
yeah, had a pattern. He actually changed into different clothing.
Okay.
And his shoes were
But
different too.
one of them was still wearing the same clothing that he was wearing on surveillance camera.
Yes.
And then, so they were captured Wednesday, this is those, and then what about the buddy that's on the?
The buddy, we got some more intel. They had been staying in an apartment. So we set up on the apartment, and the third guy just happened to show up and go into this apartment, and we were able to arrest him at the scene.
And this is all like Willcrest and,
Willcrest, Spice Lane, Willcrest, Beach Nut area.
and then, but you guys didn't, and then everything got pieced together on Thursdays when you announced the arrest or the charging of these guys? Is that
That's
correct?
up to the command staff
We
people.
captured it, homicide takes over, and they run the show.
And can you tell, because they didn't live right by Leawood, so, right? I mean, they lived in the area, but not like immediately adjacent to it.
No.
No.
Okay. Do you have, is there any, did they anticipate like the BMW to be empty and that's why they approached it because there were two guys that went in the store? Or do you guys know like what was the purpose
That's
of the whole thing?
Yes, we believe that they went into the car with just the intention of possibly just getting what they could as quick as they could. We believe Miss Price kind of surprised them, and it just went bad from there.
So they may not have intended to carjack, they were just going to rifle through the car?
Rob through the car or take the car, that's kind of unclear.
I'm sure they're not cooperating very much.
What about the two individuals who were in the car that went into the store? Did they, I mean, we haven't heard anything from them. I wasn't sure what their role in this was. It was just witnesses that had nothing to do with anything.
Yes, just witnesses. They provide statements for us. And
Can we get your name, please?
Detective Stark,
Can you spell your first last name?
David Stark, S-T-A-R-K.
The gentleman behind you in the green.
Yeah.
Oh,
Your name?
Pat Chafin. Chafin, C-H-A-F-F-I-N, Westside Tag.
And Captain, we get you.
It's Mike Oliver, it's in Frank, A-U-L-H-A-V-E-R.
They got all the details, so.
Would one of you be able to speak on?
You got like a minute and a half soundbite, right? Okay. Let's go.
Would one of you be able to speak on kind of the nature of fatal carjackings and how, I don't know if it's something that's kind of uncommon to see. I mean, I've been looking through like records and it seems like they don't happen very often.
No, carjackings happen in our city.
Or fatal carjackings.
Oh, fatal carjackings?
Yes, or carjackings.
Fortunately, they don't happen very often. The reason they're not fatal because people get shot in the city, and we have some of the best trauma centers in the country. But for those trauma centers, you know, we'd have a lot more people dying. Thank God. Because every night when I wake up and when all of you in your newsrooms trying to figure out what to cover, and I wake up to know what's happening in my city, what do we have happening every night? Shootings, people getting robbed and shot. And part of that, deterrent to that kind of behavior is twofold. One, when we catch them, let's put them in prison, keep them in prison. Two, when we catch them and they propose a threat, let's get the bonds high enough where they're not out recommitting offenses. I mean, we had Anthony Williams last week that, as you recall, months before, he ends up attacking the neighbor or something with his machete, and then our officers end up shooting him. And what happened with that guy last week? He goes into an Exxon gas station. Somebody got it wrong in the media. I told you all he went around the counter, took the money from the cash register, took some beer, went out. Our clerk, who I went and visited the next day with Chief Finner to see how she's doing, was smart enough to take pictures. He sees her, comes back. She has the presence of mind to go in, lock herself, and what does he start doing? Shooting. Pow, pow, pow. and those gunshots hit all over that gas station. She's lucky she was able to get way out of the way. Then he tries to rob another woman outside. Then he tries to carjack several people, and that's somebody that was out on bond for aggravated assault on a peace officer and other charges the months before. So there's a lot of examples of our bond system in this state needing to be based on the threat assessment. What is the threat the suspect poses? I mean, they should have a right to a hearing like everybody else. And if it's good evidence, it looks like it's maybe a preliminary hearing to see if there's enough evidence that would lead to believe that they'll end up getting a conviction. You keep them in, so they don't victimize. In Spanish, ¿qué quieres saber?
Estos señores son 4 los arrestados o 3.
Bueno, déjenme pensar. Tenemos 2 sospechosos por el homicidio capital de la señorita. 2 sospechosos que están con esas cargas. Hay un tercer sospechoso que está arrestado también por cometer un robo el próximo día, porque esos sospechosos no solamente tomaron la vida de esa mujer por ninguna razón, por la muchacha Price, por ninguna razón mataron a esa señora. El próximo día por la mañana cometieron otro robo, y por ese el tercer sospechoso está preso por eso. Gracias a Dios estos oficiales que ven aquí con nosotros, en mi opinión, son héroes que no tenemos suficientes oficiales. Tenemos estas leyes cuando las fianzas son tan bajitas para los criminales que están cometiendo delitos violentos, que en este estado, en vez de estar con el teatro político en la legislatura, que están hablando de los baños y de el santuario, la ciudad santuaria, que es nada más que teatro político, porque no están tomando acción para mantener la seguridad pública, para combatir el crimen violento. Y estamos suplicándole que ahora cuando empiece la legislatura de nuevo, que en vez del teatro político tomamos atención a lo que está ocurriendo en este estado. Miren lo que están asaltando los ATMs, las máquinas bancarias, que nos arrestamos. ¿Y quién cogieron ayer? En el Valle, cerca de la frontera, robando. Los mismos pandilleros robando allá. En vez de estar en la cárcel, están en fianza. ¿Y por qué tienen las fianzas tan bajitas en este estado? Porque los políticos, en vez de estar protegiendo a nuestra comunidad, están protegiendo al bolsillo de lo que están en los negocios de fianza. Entonces, para esta legislatura queremos y pedimos que estemos haciendo acciones, tomando leyes, pasando leyes que protegen a las personas de Texas, a la comunidad tejana, y no a las políticas.
Esta tire shop, ¿qué es lo que está ayudando? Porque ahí es cómplice, esta mujer que usted mencionó también.
La mujer, the woman we got on a different robbery, right? The female who's asking.
She on music?
What was that one? Was she part of it?
She was in.
Here, let's get homicide. You speak Spanish?
No, sir.
I'll translate for you. Go ahead.
The
Dice no, señor.
The female that was in the RAV4 is just an acquaintance of the suspects. When it was pulled over and they decided to run, she got out and ran too. She has no connection with
But
the
she's an
murder.
accomplice then?
Just not for the murder, no.
No?
No.
But for the robbery?
No.
No, she's not charged.
No.
Is
She's
it,
a cooperating witness.
Yes.
are carjackings on the rise in the city in general, or do you have any idea of like general numbers or anything like that?
We know that carjackings probably count under our robbery stats every year, and last year robberies were down. The 2 primary violent crime drivers were aggravated assaults and sexual assaults. And the aggravated assaults, it was a bad news, good news. The bad news is they were up. The good news is that 75% of the people knew whom? The suspect, their assailant. So, but life isn't about statistics. Life's about one murder is too many, one robbery to that victim, to that family is too many. That is, there's nothing, there's no worse feeling than having somebody pointing a gun at you or shooting at you because they want your property. And so robberies are actually down a little bit, but we still have a lot of robberies going on. And don't ever forget that not all crimes reported. We forget that. Not all crimes reported for a myriad of reasons. One, response time sometimes, especially for some of the lower priority calls where the crime's stale, takes forever and people give up or they figure we're not going to show up. Two, we have that immigration debate in this country where people are fearful of authorities, so they don't call. And three, sadly, we know that as it relates to sexual assault, that's probably one of the most underreported crimes in society for a myriad of reasons. So we shouldn't focus so much on stats, and we should focus on the headlines that you guys have every morning. There's always violent crime occurring in this city. Always. And it's too much. And we need to do something about it. What else?
And I just want to ask, so you talked a lot about the bond issue. Both these guys have prior criminal records. Is there any issues specifically with them as far as were any of the previous sentencing too light? They should still be the
No, we just, look, all I know is a guy with a criminal history is a felon, had a gun in 2016 and in 2018. He's a felon, a firearm. We catch felons with firearms all the time in this city. All the time. Guess what happens to them? Nothing. We wait till they kill somebody, and then we say, hey, you know what? Maybe it wasn't a good idea to allow this felon to walk around with a firearm. Right? Just like our department, not because of any fault of our work officers, but because of previous leadership, you'd get shot in our city at night, and we wouldn't have anybody respond unless you die. It was always patrol taking the reports, right? So from my perspective, what we were doing is waiting until somebody dies, and now let's get the detectives. Well, we've changed that. We're doing our part as a police department. I'm asking these men and women to work different hours. I'm moving them around. They feel like ping pong balls, right? Whatever that thing's called. Does it even have that anymore? I forgot what it's called.
Pinball.
Pinball. Who said pinball? Okay, there's one other old guy in here. They feel like pinballs, right? They're being bounced around all over the time. And I love them for their willingness to sacrifice. They are sacrificing. I've moved my gang people to weekends and nights, and, it's not fun. But they recognize our homicide people. They're working weekends now. They're working weekends. We're doing our share. But I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. Everybody else, including the legislature, the judges, the magistrates, and ultimately the people, we need help. Because they're chasing the same crooks. They're arresting the same people. People are being murdered and victimized by people that truly belong behind bars. And instead of worrying about that little marijuana everybody's worried about, let's worry about felons with guns, right? All these people are screaming about, the police chief and the sheriff and the DA, the sky is falling. No, the sky is falling because we're not taking violent crime and violent criminals seriously enough. And that starts at the legislature and it ends right here in Harris County. En español, más nada. ¿Y tú eres el único aquí en español?
Sí, hermano, pero me están
¿Tú también? ¿Tienes alguna pregunta? Porque
Todo lo que está hablando, digamos, en español, de ping pong.
Oh, he wants me to translate it for you, Maya, into Spanish. Ping pong. Ping pong, ¿no?
Señor, nosotros acabamos de
Señor.
ver una escena del norte de Houston donde un señor afroamericano anoche a las 8:30 le robaron su automóvil de su casa y le pegaron tiros en la cara. Los vecinos hispanos ahí dicen que ya están hartos de ver tanta violencia y sobre todo que no les importa en lo absoluto matar a alguien así. El señor estaba viendo su correo cuando lo mataron y le quitaron su carro y el carro lo dejan a 3 millas de distancia abandonado, o sea, no se llevaron el carro. Casi igual por lo que pasó a la señora Tisha.
Para mí me da vergüenza, porque en muchos de estos casos, cuando encontramos el sospechoso y hacemos el caso y lo llevamos a la cuenta, casi siempre van a ser sospechosos que deben haber estado en la prisión y no en la calle. And so I was just asked about an incident last night where a man comes to check his mail and he ends up getting shot in the face. And what's sickening to me, just like I had a press conference when we had the officer-involved shooting where our lieutenant, when he shot Mr. Williams, where our lieutenant was so distraught because he had to take a life that morning. And I said, with a high degree of confidence before we even knew who that suspect was, that it was going to end up being somebody that's involved in the criminal justice system. I don't know whatever happened. I mean, I remember growing up, as a young man, you don't mess with Texas. Well, those days are long gone, because just start paying attention on the people when we catch them. They're committing murders, and they're committing armed robberies, aggravated robberies. Start paying attention to their criminal histories. Then you guys that have time, that want to go back, do some historical views on what used to happen in Texas to people when you tried to kill somebody, how long you went to prison. Go back and look when Texas was really tough on crime, instead of worried about primary politics, right, and they cared about victims. Go back and see what would happen to somebody if they shot somebody. How long did they spend in prison? Start comparing that from 20 years ago to what's happening today. I'm all about criminal justice reform. I'm all about restorative justice, but I'm also about actions have consequences. And when people are committing violent crime, they don't belong on the streets, they belong in prison. And it's just, we have gone too far into different, and this is Texas. Because what they care about is, we want to be able to say that we have a 2.5%, that's the latest thing, 2.5% cap. Well, yeah, you can do all that. Let's start closing more prisons, which is what we've been doing. Let's start giving more slaps on the wrist, which is what we've been doing. But who's paying the price? People living in our community. So thanks again. Have a great weekend, everybody. And again, I salute you guys. Thank you all. You're my heroes. Proud of you. Let me know when I'm coming out. All right.